up on the Rockbridge Report. We'll show you how new district maps in the Commonwealth of Virginia affect who's on the ballot in the Rockbridge area for the upcoming election. Then, local students will receive improved physical, mental, and dental care thanks to a new mobile clinic provided to Rockbridge County schools.
And 2 new hotels are under construction in Rockbridge County. Some people in the hospitality industry wonder if there are enough guests to go around.
You could be stuck with some hotels facing closure.
Later, Kate and Buzz tells us when to put on your raincoats this weekend.
All this and more next on the Rockbridge Report.
Live from the campus of Washington and Lee University with news for Rockbridge County, this is the Rockbridge Report.
Welcome to the Rockbridge Report. I'm Jasmine Zhang.
And I'm Liz Trubeck.
We begin this evening's newscast with a flurry of headlines from the Middle East. Israel continues to bombard Gaza with airstrikes, and it is readying its troops for a ground assault. Roughly half of Gaza's population have fled home in the north and Gaza City after Israel told them to evacuate. Limited humanitarian aid will be allowed into Gaza from Egypt following a request from U.S. President Joe Biden. Biden said Egyptian officials will open the Rafah crossing into Gaza in order to allow some humanitarian aid into the region following his high-stakes visit earlier this week. John Lorenz reports.
As pro-Israeli and pro-Palestinian rallies are held separately in the U.S., Gaza is about to get some much-needed assistance.
I got no pushback, virtually none. Let me say it again. I got no pushback.
From the Israelis or from all the partners here?
All the partners.
The Biden White House has earmarked $100 million worth of support for Gaza and the West Bank.
I was very blunt about the need to support getting humanitarian aid to Gaza. Get it to Gaza and do it quickly.
The funds will be used to support the more than 1 million people who've been displaced since the start of the war between Israel and Hamas.
Material has to get in to Gaza, medicine and food and fuel. Fuel, by the way, is not just for the civilian population. It powers things like desalination plants that help provide water.
Israel says it will eradicate Hamas after the militant group's attack on an Israeli music festival earlier this month that killed 1,400 people, while Palestinian officials are blaming Israel for Tuesday's deadly blast on a hospital in Gaza.
I went into the building and suddenly heard strikes. Many of my friends were killed.
A spokesperson for the Israel Defense Forces and U.S. government officials both believe Palestinian Islamic Jihad is to blame for the hospital attack, which the group denies. I'm John Lawrence reporting.
The Biden administration hopes to provide $100 million in aid to Israel, but no funding can be sent out until an appropriation is sent through Congress, which won't happen until a new speaker is appointed. Republican Representative Jim Jordan failed again Wednesday on a crucial second ballot to become House Speaker. He had since said that he would back a temporary U.S. House Speaker for the next several months as he works to shore up support to win the gavel himself. Hundreds of demonstrators amassed outside the Capitol on Wednesday over the Israel-Hamas war, a stark reminder of the concern over having the House adrift as political challenges intensify at home and abroad.
Rockbridge County voters will see new names on their November ballots for the state legislature because of Virginia's new district maps. Redistricting has also led to an increased turnover in the legislature, as several veteran members either retired or lost their primaries. Earlier today, I asked the Rockbridge Report's Jenny Helwig how the new maps were drawn.
So after the 2020 census, which kicked into effect redistricting, instead of going to the General Assembly to draw the new districts, voters approved a constitutional amendment to create a bipartisan commission. That commission failed to produce the maps, so they kicked it over to the Virginia Supreme Court.
What is the impact of redistricting on the Virginia General Assembly?
One strong impact that we're going to see is a lot of increased turnover in the General Assembly. Essentially, the Supreme Court created these districts without caring as much about the incumbent preferences, so we're going to see a lot of new faces in the Assembly.
How will the new district boundaries affect local voters in Rockbridge County, Buena Vista, and Lexington?
So there's kind of 2 impacts it's going to have. The first is for the state Senate. Creed Deeds is no longer going to be representing local voters. His district does not include Rockbridge County. Buena Vista and Lexington anymore. So Jade Harris and Chris Head will be fighting for that seat. And for the House of Delegates, there's going to be 2 races actually for Rockbridge County, Terry Austin versus Stephanie Clark and Randall Wolf versus Ellen Campbell. And they're going to be splitting the district.
What are the stakes for Democrats and Republicans for this election?
So essentially, if the Democrats manage to get both the House and Senate, they're still going to have to deal with Youngkin's veto. So they're kind of playing on defense. They want to make sure that the Republicans don't get both chambers of the legislature, because in that case, they would have a government trifecta with Youngkin. So that's kind of the Democrats' priority, is to play on defense and make sure that doesn't happen.
Check out Jenny's story about redistricting on our website, rockbridgereport.wlu.edu. She has a map of the new district boundaries and a map of the old boundaries that may look more familiar to you. 7 candidates are competing for 3 city council seats in Buena Vista. Incumbents Stanley Coffey, Cheryl Hickman, and Steve Webb hope to be reelected, but 4 challengers are also on the ballot. They say they hope to bring new perspectives to local government and address problems such as damaged roads and underfunded schools. Get to know the candidates on our website before you vote on November 7th. Looking ahead to the 2025 elections, a former Virginia House Speaker, Eileen Fillercourt, has decided to run for the U.S. House of Representatives. Fillercourt opted not to accept a bid for governor and instead will make a push to represent a competitive Northern Virginia congressional seat. The seat is being vacated by a fellow Democrat, U.S. Representative Jennifer Wexton. Fillercourt served in the Virginia General Assembly since 2010. She was the first woman and first Jewish person to hold the post of Speaker.
The Virginia Supreme Court reinstated a ban on betting machines in gas stations, bars, and convenience stores last week. The General Assembly passed legislation outlawing skill game in 2020, but former Governor Ralph Northam delayed it for a year to help the state raise money for COVID-19 relief efforts. The ban then took effect in 2021, but this new legislation bans all betting machines, including ones that were previously registered with the state.
Rockbridge County Schools is providing new healthcare to students. All students can get physical, mental, and dental care at little to no cost, as Luke Fountain reports.
The Big Blue buses rolling out to local Rockbridge schools represent a new partnership with the Rockbridge Area Health Center. Rockbridge schools are joining nearly 3,000 other school districts across the country to provide vital health care to kids.
Partnering with Rockbridge Area Health Center, that will help our parents, help our kids get those medical services that they couldn't get otherwise.
Those barriers in rural places like Rockbridge are often access to transportation, time off from work, and a lack of nurses.
It's a 601 square mile county, and not everybody has the means to just jump and drive 45 minutes for their dental or medical appointment.
They just don't have enough healthcare providers, doctors, to be able to serve the needs of the people there.
To address this, the 2 mobile units will be located at Maury River Middle School and Rockbridge County High School. All students need is parental approval to get treated. Students will also have access to mental health care. A 2021 community health assessment identified mental health care as the biggest issue in Rockbridge County in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Throwing them into a virtual world for the education where they didn't have the interactions they needed with their peers was very stressful for them.
School officials say the licensed counselor working on the buses is booked weeks in advance. The 2 mobile health units are being repaired in Ohio. Once they return to Rockbridge County, they'll be operational immediately. It's an exciting new time for families and students who may have not had access to healthcare before. From the newsroom with the Rockbridge Report, I'm Luke Fountain.
Coming up on the Rockbridge Report, we'll tell you the impact of a new cost of living adjustment on seniors' Social Security payments. And new hotels in Rockbridge County make finding a place to stay easier. The hotel could struggle to fill rooms throughout the year.
And the Pentagon has released footage of some of the more than 180 intercepts of U.S. warplanes by Chinese aircraft that have occurred in the last 2 years. Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report. 2 new hotels will open in Rockbridge County over the next 2 years. But as Jack Krause reports, hotel owners wonder if the addition of even more rooms will outpace demand.
Economic Development Director Brandy Flint said a True by Hilton along Route 11 and a Residence Inn by Marriott near McDonald's will add around 200 hotel rooms. Parents visiting for Washington and Lee's Parents Weekend are excited for the increased lodging.
The hotels that were close and appealing both, for the rate that would be, more like reasonable, I guess, and then location and good reviews. Those were filled up. And that was about a year ago.
The Virginia Horse Center also consistently fills rooms on the weekend. On slower weekends and weekdays, however, hotels can struggle to fill rooms. Nationally, hotel occupancy dropped from 66.7% in September of 2022 to 66.2% in September of 2023, said STR, an international hotel analytics firm. Flint said the accommodation and food services industry in Rockbridge County is expected to grow only less than 2% over the next decade. Hotel managers have seen the trends firsthand.
This year's been kind of like a roller coaster for us. So it's like we kind of started off real strong and it's wintertime. So we're like, oh, wow, this is going to be an incredible summer. Then summer comes and it's like, we're going to dip down a little bit. And then it picked up a little bit. And now fall's here. Some of the underdogs, I like to call them, could suffer. And then you could be stuck with some hotels facing closure because they're not bringing in this business, because I'd rather go stay at this True by Hilton.
For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Jack Krause.
The Pentagon released footage today of some of the more than 180 instances where Chinese aircrafts intercepted U.S. warplanes in the last 2 years. The Pentagon released the pictures and videos in advance of the Pentagon's annual report on China's military power and the security threats it may pose in the Indo-Pacific region. U.S. military officials say they wanted to call out China's behavior because the Chinese intercepts are a part of a larger trend of regional intimidation. The officials say that the intimidation could accidentally lead to conflict.
Starting in 2024, seniors will see a change in their Social Security payments. Cole Higgins explained what this impact means.
Seniors who receive Social Security benefits are going to see a smaller bump in their checks in 2024. 3.2%, the Social Security Administration announced last week. That's smaller than the inflation-fueled increases seniors saw over the last 2 years.
3.2% is literally better than nothing. We would prefer that it was higher, of course.
In 2023, the cost of living adjustment was 8.7%, which was the largest in more than 40 years. Starting in January, retirees' monthly payments are expected to be an average of $1,907, an increase of $59. Shannon Benton, the executive director with the Senior Citizens League, an advocacy group, says the inflation gauge is based on price changes for urban wage earners and clerical workers rather than the spending habits of seniors.
In a recent survey by the Senior Citizens League, 80% of participants said that they think Congress should beef up inflation protection by providing a cost of living adjustment that more accurately reflects their spending habits.
Many elderly Americans are worried these benefits won't cover their basic living expenses.
We used to be able to say, well, if you can't afford beef, we'll get chicken. If you can't afford chicken, you can get pork. But right now, everything is a lot higher than it was several years ago.
For Consumer Watch, I'm Cole Higgins.
A Washington-based attorney says he has dropped a lawsuit against the Virginia Beach School Board since the school board decided to adopt Governor Glenn Youngkin's new policies on transgender students. The attorney, Charles Cooper, was representing two parents who wanted the school board to enforce Youngkin's policies. Cooper filed the lawsuit on behalf of the parents after the school board failed to adopt a resolution to enforce the policies in August. The school board revised regulations will go into place on November 8th.
Autumn is in the air and fall is here. It's time to whip out that coat and windbreaker. Stay tuned for my 5-day forecast.
The U.S. announced a $3.5 billion nationwide project to strengthen the electric grid for extreme weather events.
I'm Fraley Williams, reporting live from Carilion Rockbridge Community Hospital. Carilion is conducting a survey of Rockbridge residents, which will tell us the county's most pressing health needs. I have the story coming up for you.
Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report.
Carilion Clinic hopes to improve health in the region with its 2024 health assessment. Fraley Williams is live at Carilion Rockbridge Regional Hospital with some details.
Carilion Rockbridge Community Hospital is conducting surveys and meetings to collect data for its 2024 health report. The research will identify health issues across the county and promote services to help residents. Earlier reports led to new mobile health units for those who lack transportation. Reporting live from Lexington, I'm Fraley Williams for the Rockbridge Report. Back.
Walking around campus these past few days and seeing all the fun fall colors signals that, fall and autumn are finally here.
Yes, for sure. It's really getting cold. I start to wear long sleeves. What about you, Caden?
Yeah, I've had to wear my jackets a couple times. But first, let's get to a national story. The Biden administration announced yesterday that it will invest $3.5 billion to strengthen the resilience of the electrical grid nationwide. The money will go into 58 different projects. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm says the current state of the grid is not equipped to handle the new demand. She also says natural disaster and extreme weather worsened by climate change has put more stress on the grid. Here are the current conditions today with a high of 67 and a low of 47. The barometric pressure is 30 and 2/100 inches. Wind speeds at 9 miles per hour, so you might want to get your kites out, and humidity is a comfortable 50%. Let's look at the radar. No showers in sight. Now, straight to regional temperatures. Charlottesville is warmer at 73, while Stan, Lexington, and Buena Vista are all at 67 and cloudy. Lynchburg is right in the middle at 69 and also cloudy. Covington is 56, so colder, and Roanoke is 69, both cloudy. Now, let's look at the 5-day forecast. Tomorrow, you might need an umbrella as we have a chance of rain, with a high of 62 and low of 45. Saturday, the sun comes back with a high of 65 and low of 44. Sunday, we have our first chance for a freeze with a high of 60 and clouds. Monday and Tuesday, it's nice and sunny at 65 and 68 with lows of 35 and 39. Back to you, Liz.
Thank you, Caden. Coming up, brothers take the same field for the Washington and Lee football team.
Definitely having a little bro here makes things a little bit easier, so it's good to have the whole fam down every weekend.
And Martin Scorsese's new movie, Killers of the Flower Moon, premieres tonight. Learn how he enlisted the help of Osage tribe members to tell the story accurately.
Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report. It was a great weekend here for sports at WNL.
Yes, I heard that there were a lot of wins this weekend.
Here's Bella with more on this exciting news.
Thanks, Liz. Yesterday was a dominant day for Washington and Lee soccer. The women's team downed rival Roanoke 2-0. The Generals scored twice in the first half and held the Maroons to just one shot in the second half. WNL men's soccer blasted Bridgewater 9-0 behind 8 second-half goals. The Generals' 9 assists were the most recorded in a WNL game in 18 years. Washington and Lee field hockey also had a successful Wednesday evening as they took down Randolph-Macon 5-1. The only Generals defeat came on the court yesterday. The WNL volleyball team lost in straight sets to Bridgewater. The Generals had 19 hitting errors in the loss. The VMI football team took down Citadel last weekend in the Military Classic of the South. The Cadets' win marks the first time VMI has won the Silver Shako since the 2021 spring season. The Cadets' men's soccer team fell short to Howard University last night. VMI took a 1-0 lead into halftime, but conceded 2 late goals to lose. The Rockbridge County Wildcats football team fell in their last game to Harrisonburg High School. After a bye week, the Wildcats returned to the road tonight to face Spotswood High School. The game was moved to tonight from tomorrow night due to forecasted rain. The Wildcats volleyball team clinched the Valley District Championship with a 5-set victory over Spotswood on Tuesday. The Wildcats now sit at 20-1 on the season. After a 45-12 win last weekend, the Perry McClure football team heads into this week's matchup against Alta Vista with 5-2 record. The Fighting Blues volleyball team crushed Craig County in straight sets yesterday after taking down Bath County on Tuesday. Perry McClure has won 6 of its last 7 matches. Southern Virginia men's soccer shut out Mary Baldwin in Buena Vista last night. The Knights outshot the Fighting Squirrels 26-4. The Knights women's soccer team also secured a midweek victory with a 2-0 win over conference foe Greensboro College. Senior McKenna Winterton scored her 11th goal in the win. She is now second in the USA South in goals. Washington and Lee defensive line coach Tony Collins II came into his second season this year with some company. His little brother Ty, a first-year quarterback, has now appeared in 3 games in his rookie season. Our Mackenzie Kane caught up with the Collins family during Parents and Family Weekend.
Good afternoon, Rockbridge. I'm here at Washington and Lee's Parents Weekend, where the Generals football team continues to give everyone something to smile about with this victory over Guilford College. Joining me here on field is the Collins family. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Collins, you had the unique experience of seeing not one, but two of your children on field this game, one as a player and one on the coaching staff. What was that experience like for you?
Well, I'll say it's interesting because we're a football family, so I've been seeing these boys on the football field all their lives. So it's pretty interesting to see them both on the field at the same time. We're pretty excited about them being here.
And I'm just excited that I get to come to one place to watch and I have to go to two different places.
Now, Tony and Ty, what was it like knowing that you had just a little extra support in the stands this game?
For me, it's always good because ever since I was young, my dad always had me out practicing and training by myself. It's always good to have them and support me through everything that I do, and I know they will be there.
Yeah, I mean, we stick together pretty tight as a family, so it's always good to have them close. And definitely having a little bro here makes things a little bit easier. So it's good to have the whole fam down every weekend.
Well, thank you all for your time, safe travels on your way home. And signing off with the Rockbridge Report, I'm Mackenzie Kane.
Killers of the Flower Moon opens in theaters across the U.S. tonight. The Osage tribe was central to the creation of the historical fiction piece. Rick Demagello reports.
Whose land is this? My land.
Martin Scorsese brings Robert De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio together in Killers of the Flower Moon, based on a true story.
They outsmarted everybody. They have the say. Who gets the oil?
The film follows the murders of Osage tribe members in the 1920s, featuring the tribe's descendants prominently in the production.
Without them, you couldn't make the picture. I mean, they were not only behind the camera, but in front of the camera, and both very often at the same time, back and forth.
The Osage, their time is over. We got to take back control of our home. I was sent down from Washington, D.C. to see about these murders.
The funny thing was that the families we're talking about in the movie, the people acting, the Osage acting in it, they're members of those families on both sides.
We have so many deaths, we've lost count. It's just bad luck. Seems more like an epidemic than bad luck to me.
They had to relearn the whole Osage language, what they did in the film too. They put it together, and now the younger people of the Osage are getting interested in their rituals, and so we think that somehow they're going back and finally reconstructing themselves, and maybe as an example for other indigenous groups too.
Osage is dying by the enemy. Do not let them die alone.
In Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
That's all for the Rockbridge Report. For more stories, check out our website at rockbridgereport.wlu.edu.